We begin the show with this cheery news that the 3-year-old baby that was stolen from the hospital in Plateau State has been found. Now, the incident brings to the spotlight the concerns of security and safety in our hospitals. These, among other issues, are on our lineup, but that will be after the crime news. I'm Ivy Kano. Welcome to Crime Watch.
The Nigerian army has begun proceedings to court-martial 14 officers and soldiers accused of murder, kidnapping, desertion, among other criminal offences. The General Officer Commanding Army 6th Division, Port Harcourt, Jamil Sharham, who inaugurated the court proceedings in Port Harcourt, said the suspects were officers and soldiers of the division. Major General Sharham added that the army has zero tolerance for indiscipline and would never shield any personnel, no matter how highly placed they were. The Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps in Imo State has arrested a man who allegedly raped his own mother. The suspect confessed to the crime and blamed it on alcohol when paraded alongside other suspected criminals to the media.
I carried the thing, keep on for in his bed in the water, sleep. As I sleep, I sleep. So I don't know, say I raped my mother day. God, see her. I drank.
Who tell you say you rape your mama?
I drank that day.
Who tell you say you rape your mama?
Eh?
Who tell you that you rape your mom?
Who tell me?
Who tell you say you rape
How do
your
you
mama?
know that
How
you
you take no say you rape her?
You know.
And the time why I come, the time why I from bed come out.
The two suspects were arrested. Of the two cases, the bus and then the car behind, loaded with diesel tied on the nylon bags, which I believe, according to the findings of the intelligence department, who have done a wonderful work.
The Nigerian Customs Service says present security challenges along areas close to the border in Katsina, Zamfara, and Sokoto states are hindering effective patrols in those areas. The Comptroller of Customs Federal Operations Unit Zone B stated this in Katsina during a parade of seized items worth 207 million naira.
It's rainy season now, but they cannot even go to their farms because of insecurity, because of banditry. As for us, customs, especially the Federal Operations Unit, we have been facing a lot of challenges, not only here in Katsina State, but even in Zamfara.
Smuggling of rice is one of the major issues that the government needs to address seriously. It is part of our problem because as farmers, the smuggling of rice hampers our business, and we urge the customs to do more in trying to reduce the problem to the barest minimum.
Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has assured residents of the state of intensified security of lives and property. The governor said this when he held his first security meeting with security chiefs in the state. Issues discussed in the meeting, which lasted for 2 hours, include strategies to curb cultism, kidnapping, pipeline vandalism, among other crimes.
Current issues around cultism, kidnapping, little armed robberies here and there, pipeline vandalization, indiscriminate driving against traffic, issues around Okada drivers and all of it. Everything that has to do with security challenges were discussed, and we've all set new levels of challenge for ourselves in terms of our various deliverables. We will be doing a lot of advocacy again. That's actually one of the things that we agreed to. We'll be doing so. You'll be seeing us doing a lot of jingles. You'll be seeing us doing a lot of advocacy on all medium of communication.
The residents of Ijagbo community in Oyun local government area of Kwara State has donated a building and patrol van to the police. Security chiefs and residents at the inauguration of the divisional police headquarters and a patrol vehicle say this will go a long way in curbing crimes in the area.
It is pertinent to mention that as part of the measure to enhance the security of our town and the work of the police, solar power street light is being installed as part of this project. The major street around the town has been covered as of today and is still ongoing.
Where the police and the community cooperate, the criminals can hardly operate. We are demonstrating here today that there is cooperation between the police and the community in Ijago. And this should send a signal to criminal elements that Ijago is not a place for them to operate.
Our first big stories take us to the Plateau, where a missing 3-year-old baby stolen from the State Specialist Hospital has been found.
It started with TVC News breaking the news that a woman who had disguised herself as a laboratory scientist at the Plateau State Specialist Hospital had stolen a baby. She had lied to the baby's mother, Mary Ebuka, that medical tests needed to be run on her baby and had disappeared. The perpetrator's whereabouts and their identities remained unknown for 7 days until stranger approached the missing child's mother asking if she could identify the woman that took her baby from a picture he showed her. She affirmed that it was indeed the woman in the picture and he left. Nothing was heard again until recently when the police authorities invited the two parents to A Division Police Headquarters in Jos. When they arrived, the nursing mother was able to identify a suspect as the same woman that took her baby at the hospital on the 31st of May. The suspect was also holding a baby whom Mr. and Mrs. Ebuka identified as their baby who was stolen days earlier. The suspect initially denied the allegations and claimed the baby was hers.
We went there, we met one woman on seat. We went there, they showed us one woman and asked if the baby is ours. Which I and my wife confirmed, yes, the baby is ours. But the woman that came with the baby was claiming that the baby is hers. So they asked the woman how she came about the baby. Say she gave birth to the baby, that she was kidnapped. And she gave birth at the hands of the kidnappers.
My baby has been returned to me, and all I can say is thank you, Nigeria. Every good Nigeria that is out there that puts efforts in seeing my baby return to me, I really appreciate. I thank God for everything.
The suspect, upon thorough investigation and a series of medical tests, later confessed to having acted alone in stealing the baby. TVC News learned that the perpetrator has been married to her husband for 8 years without a child, and it was this that pushed her into that act of desperation. The results of the series of medical tests conducted have certified that Mr. and Mrs. Chukwu Ebuka are the real parents of the stolen child. The family of Mr. and Mrs. Chukwu Ebuka say their joy has no bound at the moment, having passing through thick and thin to have their baby back.
I almost lost hope, but I'm happy. I thank God. I'm holding my baby now. I'm so happy. Very happy.
Who am I to judge person? I'm nobody to judge person. Since God can see me and help me and return my baby, the Bible said that we should always forgive. So I have to forgive her. I have forgiven her if she will really forgive herself.
The duo say they have forgiven the woman that stole their baby. Also pray that God will grant her heart desire of having her own biological child.
I pray for God to bless her with the fruit of the womb. If that is really what she wanted, may God give her, so she will feel the pains I went through, the trauma she put me through, and I'm forgiving her. And I pray that she asks for forgiveness from God.
The child is currently receiving treatment to cure cough and catarrh, which after will be discharged from the hospital.
We had a chat with a public health expert on the security and safety of our clinics following the recent incident of child theft at the Plateau State Specialist Hospital. Welcome to this segment, our interview segment. And today we have joining us Mr. Femi Ogeimbo. We'll be talking about security and safety, especially in our state hospitals. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much.
Now, we'll concentrate on Plateau State. The story about the 3-year-old that got missing and later found. Now, what's your thought, especially around security in hospitals?
Well, it's a general concern, and I don't know why we always wait until something happens before we focus on that is very necessary. Now, the issue that happened in Plateau State could have happened anywhere.
Definitely.
Could have happened anywhere. And I don't see the reason why we should not have our security architecture in place in all our hospitals. It also starts from even the workflow. How do people get to particular areas in an hospital? Because look at that incident they're talking about. They said a doctor came and took the baby from the mother is going into a theater. Obviously, that person must have been dressed like a doctor.
Okay.
I mean, and maybe doesn't even have a name tag. But if you visit private hospitals, one of the first things you get to know there are the list of people on duty. The doctor in charge of gynecology, obstetrics, they'll list all doctors on duty. And most people, most personnel have their badge on. And there is what is called access control. Okay. There are some places you cannot go into without your badge. This will help in a very long way in securing our hospitals. But when the hospital is just open, anybody can go in, anybody can come out through anywhere at any time, then there's a problem. And like you know, hospitals abroad, right from birth, babies are tagged immediately. They have a tag in their hand with their mother up until the time they're going to be within the hospital premises. There's also nothing wrong if you're bringing your child for a treatment or anything. They should tag them from the gate so that without your tag, you cannot leave. After all, even in common places we go to, like you're taking your children to the camp or you're taking them for games, when you're taking them in, they give you gate pass to withdraw them when you're coming back. Without those things, even if they look like you, they won't allow you. These are simple security measures that should be in place at all times to forestall such occurrences.
Now, I know that when a woman gives birth, she's too weak to look out for certain things. I've heard stories where the name tag, gets pulls off or gets off the child's hand. Now, for a mother who you just gave birth, very tired, do you advise fathers? I think a father should be
where? In the labor room?
Yeah.
Well, there is nothing wrong. Abroad, you can decide to, witness the childbirth, even though we don't have such facilities in our own government hospitals because of the population.
No, it's an individual thing.
Yeah, but sometimes people don't want to. Okay. They don't want to be there because even you also know the women are going through so much pains, and it's not a situation. Fine, it's good to be there, but you can't do much. You understand? But ideally, there should be a standard operational procedure when it comes to such things, wherein you know that once the baby is put to bed, one of the first things you do is have a clean up the child. You tag before the baby can move out of the premises within that environment. And like these tags, I tell you, they don't fall off easily. If you attend programs on VI, all these our shows, they have different tags for VIP, the common table, and all those ones. And I've seen those things. Sometimes if you don't cut it, they don't. And it's being used abroad, and up until now, I think it's still very effective. Because when you put to bed immediately, the details are going into the system immediately. So until we begin to understand those basic things that will eventually lead to, an ideal situation, there are various procedures at each level, during childbirth, during antenatal clinics, during pre and postnatal clinics. They should have all these procedures in place, whereby when a baby is not with the parent, you can easily know. You understand? Otherwise, even if the baby can walk, can just walk out of the hospitals and nobody will know. Even apart from somebody coming intentionally who wanted to steal the baby.
Now, I think CCTV is also important in some of the in most of the hospitals.
Yes, it is very important. But I've come to realize that usually CCTV are very useful more in post-mortem. Usually, most of the time, you find that the crime has been committed. Then you now go back to CCTV to go and check. Because the person sitting behind the CCTV has close to about 10 places
Monitors, yeah.
to look at the same time. He could take his eyes off. It could be human error. It could be electrical. It could be electronics. Anything could just happen and they will just miss that point in time. That's one reason why even after putting all the security architecture in place, you still have that as a backup. Because usually it's also effective when you want to trace back, or probably for investigational purposes, they can help. But there and then when the crime is being committed, it may not be helpful. Because the person involved could be distracted for whatever reasons. It could have a call, there could be power failure, there could be anything. But when the architecture is already in place, you know that beyond this place, you cannot go out. Like for instance now, in every offices, there are places that are only authorized personnel only. If you are not one, you cannot get there. The access control is there. Yeah. You can only go in with your card. And at times, you even have to be on duty to be able to come in. It is programmed as such. Even ordinary hotels will go to, they give you your card as an access to your room. Without it, you can't. So I expect that our government hospitals should begin to take a cue from private hospitals. You don't have to be rich to access basic amenities. Okay, yeah. You understand? So when the standard operational procedure is in place, you also know that if you're not supposed to administer this, you're not supposed to be there. So the issue of connivance becomes difficult. I'm not saying it's not impossible, but I can tell you that if you're going to connive in an organized setting where they have proper control in place, you might have to involve everybody around, which usually is very difficult.
Okay, recently on social media, I'm sure you heard the story of the woman who takes pleasure in, swabbing children.
It's a very sad one. It's a very sad one. And I can just imagine the amount of chaos that act alone will have caused a lot of families everywhere. But by and large, it still boils down to the fact that there is no control. Back then, if there had been control, because I was opportuned to witness a surgery abroad sometimes. The nurses for pre-surgery are different. The ones that will prepare you for the surgery, the preparation room, and immediately they are done with you, they hand you over to the theater people. They are quite different. And while the operation is going on, by the time they finish, they hand you over to post-surgery nurses. So there is a stage. And even after you will leave the hospital, you go home, they still hand you over to another nurses that will follow up with you at home, almost hourly, to see how your patient is responding, if there are complications, if you have any questions to ask, until the patient goes through and is well and okay. But here you find out that maybe the same person that delivers is the one cleaning, is the one entering the documentation, is the one taking post-delivery issues. It can, out of human error, naturally human error, make a mistake in swapping. And when it now comes to the fact that it's what she likes doing for fun, then you can imagine what happens. She will just have a field day because nobody is checking, there is no feedback mechanism to ensure that controls and SOPs have been added to.
So, what's your advice to government, especially since these things happen in government-owned hospitals?
My advice is, number one, they should embrace best practices all over the world. It's not hard for us to come by. We don't need to even invent. We can as well just copy. That is one. Number two, we should be very proactive. Even though when you come up with your programs, they should be tailored, towards the environment you're implementing it. And we should also make sure that we do follow up on our systems, making sure that people adhere to it. And when you see that people are faulting it, you should find a way to nip it in the bud. Especially like what we have now that, successfully somebody has come in.
Yeah,
you can imagine the trauma of the family, the trauma of the baby. And we're just lucky that they could retrieve the child. What if they can't? That loss was very colossal.
And somebody was even saying something like they just retrieved the child without doing a DNA test to know if those were the child's parents.
Well, according to what I read, they did a lot of other tests,
okay,
which includes probably blood work.
Okay.
I mean, the DNA, according to them, has been done, but they are expecting the results, a few weeks from now. So, but with what they've done so far, they could, at least to a reasonable extent, ascertain that, they are the biological parents of that baby. And I'm sure if the DNA comes out and it's otherwise, of course, the baby is not lost. They can always retrieve and do the other things necessary.
Thank you, Femi, for coming to the program. We've been speaking with Mr. Femi. We've been speaking with Mr. Femi Ogeimbo.
Good.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Now,
for your time.
Crime Watch continues in a moment. Our second big story takes a look at the lingering crisis of herdsmen militia in Taraba State.
Human lives do not seem to matter to herders who consistently attack farmers who dare challenge their exercise in Lao local government in Taraba State. For example, the corpse of the father of a traditional ruler in a community recently buried was exhumed and mercilessly mutilated.
Thank God the corpse is intact. No any anatomical organ has been tampered with. So everything is intact. And we thank God that we don't even know the reason of doing it based on today. But anatomically, all structures, all organs are intact.
Before his death, he told or instructed us that in the event of his death, he should be taken home to be buried. We respected that against the wishes of some of the members of the family. But we felt a dying man should be respected, the will of a dying man should be respected. We took him home, built a very befitting tomb for him, interned him on the 25th of May 2019. We left community vigilantes to secure the graveyard, considering the nature and the volatile nature of the environment. 3 days later, on the 28th of May, we woke up in the morning, all to be told that some unknown persons invaded the community, that nobody is living, removed the corpse from the grave, battered the coffin, opened it from all rounds and angles, placed the coffin outside and opened it and left.
The monarch, Pastor Haniel Inlewele Banti, told TBC News that their aggressors are after their land. He explained that despite the fact that over 100 farmers had been killed in his domain at the last count, the federal government was reluctant to protect them from further aggression.
The situation in my area is pathetic. As I speak, my people are living in Jalingo, helpless. People who used to feed themselves are now fed by the government, who are living by the grace of God. Right from that time to now, we have lost a lot of beloved ones, parents, brothers, and sisters. Many people have gone to their villages to run huts where they will hide, they will stay to go to farm.
Some farmers in Lao are eager to return home to farm if the federal government would guarantee security.
The more important things that is disturbing us now, when we go back there is no security. Even though when we went back to farm again, maybe those our enemies will come back and eat it up.
Governor Darius Ishako believes the farmer's herd's face-off is beyond mere grazing.
My view is that it's not about grass. It's not about grass, it's about colonization. It has nothing to do with grass. And we must be serious and honest in solving it. We cannot be pushing it under the table or the dustbin. We must be sincere to ourselves. We as leaders have to stand up and be sincere. If we want to solve a problem, we'll solve it. If we don't solve the problem will consume us.
He wants all concerned across the country to address the problem holistically to end the prolonged conflicts.
Clarity of purpose. Sit down, look at the problem and solve it as it should be. When they arrest a kidnapper, he is released. When you address a killer, he is released. And you think it will stop? It don't.
Before we go, here are some security tips for you. And with that, we've come to the end of this week's episode. Remember to join us same station, same time next week. Till then, keep your comments coming to crimewatch@tvcnews.tv. You can also tweet at me at Ivy Kanu. Do have a crime-free week.